Hello everyone, we're here to give you an up-to-date thing of the OPPT and exactly why we're saying it's scam. We're going to pull it apart for you and show you what we're saying. Just apologies, Arthur's feeling really tired. He hasn't had much sleep over the past few days with what's been going on with Facebook and everything, so we're going to do the best we can. So first of all, I just want to set out the background to the OPPT so you can really get a glimpse of where it's coming from. Now first of all, we've got who is the spokesperson, or man or woman, for the OPPT. It's this Heather. Now she is an attorney. Now attorneys belong to the bar and take an oath to the bar. They are not citizens or residents of anywhere. So they have no patriotic ties to a country or anything. They belong to the bar. They are merchants of law, and merchants, remember merchants is all about buying and selling, and their function is to generate revenue. Now I have heard supporters of the OPPT, this is on the Tammy Pepperman interview that we've got up on Facebook and on the internet, which we strongly recommend you have a listen of, but supporters point out that she returned her bar card to the bar.
Heather had.
Yeah, Heather returned her bar card. But it was pointed out by Tammy Pepperman on the show that we do not know, you can't just return your bar card and say I'm no longer a bar card, because you took an oath. You swore to be loyal to the bar. So if she really wants to remove herself from that loyalty, she has to take an oath of expatriation away from the bar and another oath back to a patriotic state, i.e. the USA, for example. So she has to unoath herself from the bar, as it were, and get herself back taking an oath of allegiance to another country. Perhaps Heather has done that, but that's not clear. But just if people are just saying, oh, but Heather's returned her car to the bar, that actually doesn't mean anything. She could still very well be loyal to the bar. So that's the first thing. We've got this document supposedly giving us our freedom that's been handed to us, designed, written, etc. by Heather, or she's one of the people writing it, an attorney, a merchant of law. So this is all about commerce. Now the next thing we have to look at is that this is under the UCC. Let's have a look at something that you can just find on the internet about the general provisions of the UCC. The 1-103 Construction of Uniform Commercial Code to promote its purposes and policies. Applicability of supplemental principles of law. Now this is the important thing. A. The Uniform Commercial Code must be liberally construed and applied to promote its underlying purposes and policies, which are 1. To simplify, clarify and modernize the law governing commercial transactions. It's all about commerce. 2. To commit the continued expansion of commercial practices through custom, usage and agreement of the parties. And 3, to make uniform the law among the various jurisdictions. So here we have a merchant of law who deals in commerce, whose job is to generate revenue, handing you a commercial legal document, a document that's all about the continuation and expansion of commerce. And this is apparently going to give us our freedom. And the other thing, what do we have to do to this document? We have to sign our names to it. Again, we talk a lot about the name. We get back to the name. And as Tammy says in the stuff I listen to for her, the name you use in the system is not yours, which we as well make a point of many times. It is patented and belongs to somebody else. When you subscribe to them, you are maintaining the status of creditor and debtor because you're asking them to give you something. You're subscribing to the benefits. Those behind the system do not see the man that you are. The name is not you. When you take an oath and maintain that you are a resident or citizen of the United States of America, you are saying that you are a thing, because res, as in resident, means thing. You are subjecting yourself to them and you are subject to duties under their constitution. So here we have it again. We've got a lawyer who's a merchant of law presenting you with a document of law that is all about commerce, and you are supposed to use your name that has nothing to do with the real man that you are, that is your legal entity in the system, and that is what you have to use to sign yourself up to it. And by signing yourself up to it, you are agreeing that you subject your life to them, and you are subject to duties under their constitution. Now, does this sound like a document that's going to bring us freedom? Would you like to say something about the I as well?
Well, in the middle of the word belief is the word lie, and in the middle of the word lie is the word I, and I is the greatest lie of all. Now, I is belief. When people say it feels good, it feels right, it's a lie, because you have to be able to back it. You've got to be able to bring forward the first party to back the claim that what you're saying is true. People say, as you've seen in the Love for Life videos, that the Galactic Federation feels right. Well, let's bring forward the Galactic Federation to back the claim. Hello, Galactic Federation. Hello, Galactic Federation. Where are you? Where are you? Where's the first party? See, people make a claim where things are true, but if they can't bring it forward, then it's a lie, then it's a fraud. Now, the thing is, if you look at this kind of deception, it goes right back through all recorded history, where people believed in myths and gods and characters like a Jesus. Now, we're not saying that there weren't great people that did incredible things back then. We weren't there. None of us are there present. There's nobody here today present to say that everything that's written in the books occurred back then, right? And we explain that in the books. A tiny, tiny few people could read and write alphabet languages to record all that information. So when you go back and look at people, us, worshipping gods, worshipping a realm of fantasy that makes up the story of the time, where those men who became, and women who were conscripted into armies, who were then sent into, as an invasion to conquer another army, or to invade another land and decimate another land and convert it, or they got defeated, the invading army got defeated, and now they were consumed by those, and the people were then merged into the next faith or religion of that time. But what you find is that these people believed in all these things, but the fact is they were all under a spell of the lie of this belief, because what was behind it is the system. And that's the key. You've got to keep saying it's the system. The system is the power of the oligarchy of that time, and they've got to find ways to keep people trapped. Now, there's no difference to recent times where people had, it feels good about Jesus, it feels right about Jesus, it feels right about what they're saying in the Bible. But it only takes one lie, and that lie is I, to destroy everything and to put you into a false sense of comfort and a false sense of the people around you care for you and they want to do the right thing by you. You know, hence you get people who go to confession to sit and tell to the priest everything, and the priest gets to become the intelligence networks, and they get to learn about what you're thinking, and you know now through today with the internet and many means where people come into Facebook groups and they come into your network groups and they join into your alternative groups, whatever they may be. There's always the odd plant there getting intelligence, because the oligarchy behind the scene that has the power of the system that we live under today, they got to know what's going on, because they've got to come up with preventative measures so you never escape from their power. So the point I'm getting at about this I is that now we have a document here. It's a classic document here where they're using the word self instead of the word man. Now, this is really critical. You've got to know legalese. You've got to know your documents. You've got to know what you're reading. You can't turn around and say, oh, this feels right. It just feels good. Because, guys, this is exactly what Christians do when they say feels right about Jesus. It's no different to all those people back then who felt right about their gods. And all these people are all part of this conscripted force of life force energy of man, setting into motion the invasion of a system of people and killed them and decimated them. We're doing the same thing with this now. We want to invade the current system and destroy it. And the people who are behind us, who are manipulating everybody, telling everyone out in the open that we're only going to leave behind 10% of the population, 90% is going to go. There's no room for everybody. And you hear it in the Bill Gates eugenics agenda. You're hearing it in the mantras of Prince Philip saying that he wished he was a bacteria, could come back and obliterate, a vast population of us. You see it in the Georgia Guidestones. that they're telling you that there's only going to be 500 million of us left in their plan. Read Agenda 21 carefully and you'll see that the extermination of a vast population of man is in the wind. And you're having this fervour of people signing this document. We're going to show you the guts of this document as to why you should never sign this document, this OPPT form, because it's so corrupt. But you've got to know legalese to see it. And this is what Fiona is going to explain it to you. But anyway, we made these videos called Under the Spell of Intellectual Property. It explains very well what that eye is and the reflection of Alice in Wonderland. We ask you to watch that, save us having to explain it all here. We also made another video called The Name is the Mark of the Beast, the straw man that identifies your slave status in the system. It talks about the curse of the current currency of money, because really all that's going on is the processing of a lie. Because see, behind money is the system, the oligarchy. They are the inventors of this system. And the base lie of all of this is that some men are more equal than others, that some have a higher standing, have more power, more authority. And because that's a lie, that is a curse. So they've had to come up with systems to deflect the curse, find ways to get around this. And this is why the system exists, for this very reason, right? Because really, and I guess I should bring this up, is that we are all the descendants of tribes of man that were invaded and decimated. And what remains of us, mainly children who are brainwashed into the education provided by these oligarchies, all across history, their recorded history, to fall into their story, into their stories, because the oligarchy are brilliant storytellers. Because the only way we can keep us trapped in the systems, which is what the OPPT is a story. You've got to fall for the story. When you're reading something like this and you say it feels right, what's going on here? Your head is filled with the stories of all the New Age jargon, all the satanic influences and symbols and cryptography and cryptology, I should say, and etymology and phonetics in the words, because there's a whole world of images going on here. And there's been 20, 30, 40 years of bombardment of all of us everywhere about New Age rhetoric and coming through channeling. And there's 1,001 books available through all the New Age bookshops and alternative bookshops, and you see through the Oprah Winfrey over the years how it's been introduced, the New Age is coming in. And you're seeing all the stuff now, everyone's talking about, oh yeah, we're part of this cosmic oneness universe. But if you listen very carefully, it's all legalese, guys, because all that's happening here is that two things. One, no one can bring forward oneness to back the claim that oneness exists. So we have to look at what actually is this oneness in practical terms. How's it applied in our everyday life? How does this oneness work, right? Now it's very different from the wholeness of nature. The wholeness of nature, WHOLNES, where you see everything unique, not one the same as the next. And yet there's this team effort where everything works together to keep the whole of the dream of life in focus so we can all experience it in present sense. That is very different from documents like the OPPT that talk about oneness. So how does that apply in our everyday life? How does it come into our lives, into our homes? How does it come into your home? How does it intercede into our working relationships with each other? And what you see is legalese, the law. That's what the oneness is, because while everyone's running around thinking about the universe, we'll talk about that, and the Galactic Federation and all the channeling that comes out of Matthew and Ramtha and Creon, and you talk about all the look, I won't go on because all of you would get an idea that there are so many stories out there that we all can be seduced into filling our heads up with it, and we represent these stories as we're thinking them, we're projecting them out there. So when you get a mantra like this coming along, and we're going to read you some of the early phrasings of the OPPT document, you'll see the deception behind this. Now, let's just assume at this stage that Heather and the other trustees are all innocent and they're just all victims to this kind of psychological attack. But either way, they cannot run away and say that they're not aware of this with what we're about to explain, and already what we shared on Facebook, which we know has gone into millions of people's lives. We know this stuff is spread everywhere. And so again, what Fia's asked me to say, and apologies, I'm really tired. I've been at this for many, many hours now, for a week, and I've been getting about 2 hours sleep, and I just want to finish this video and help you get your head around this. if I'm drifting, it's not that I'm off on something. I'm really tired. But anyway, I in the middle of lie is belief. Watch out when anyone says to you, it feels right, it feels good. Unless you're using your brain, unless you scrutinize and you are reading what is before you on a piece of paper, and if you do not know who it's coming from, and who they serve, who is their master. That's why we ask people, who is your master? Who do you represent?
And the interesting thing about this is that it is a legal document, and I've never come across any other legal document being promoted anywhere where you're just asked to just feel good about it. You know, feel like, don't worry about what it says, just so long as it feels right. This is for, you don't even have to, you know, get too involved in it, just sign it and it'll all be right.
Yeah.
And of course the reason so many people are getting caught up with it, it sort of sounds like the answer to our dreams. Yay, it's the end of the system, so we've been told. Yay, there's $10 billion for every single man, woman, child on the planet. Yay, it's you know, it's all happening. But you have to read the document, or read and look and see why. Would you like to go over some of the words?
Well, I just want to say a couple
Yeah.
of things. Is that you've got to remember that we've all been decimated everywhere. We have hundreds of millions of families lost their homes. Hundreds of millions of people have been butchered through the courts all across Earth for tax and fraud and bank fraud. And we've lost here on the land we call Australia over 500,000 farming families. And the vast majority of those farming families have been consumed by private corporations who now control the food supplies, who control the transport, who control what you can and can't do in terms of what you can buy, and how and the quality that comes into your life. You can't control the water that comes into your home, which is compromised by fluoride and chlorine and all this garbage. Going back to the food, the food that's coming from people who don't have you in their dreams, and the food that has got toxic chemicals and poisons in the soil where they grew them in, sprayed for the insects and bugs and disease, and then it's then sprayed further in the warehouses, and it can come from days and weeks away. The point I'm saying is that we're all living in a time of such absolute chaos, and all this is engineered. There's no accident to this, because when you look behind the creeping hand of the oligarchy, the Freemasonic satanic world of people who are the invaders of all the lands where all the tribes of man were, which we are all the descendants of, we're subjected to this kind of manipulation. So now we have all these people who've been bombarded by the same medias and the information outlets of bookshops and internet primarily is a massive tool, and where you can get access to all kinds of feel-good, feel-right stories, because underneath it, most people have to wake up, go to work, have to be hijacked as children, to be forced into the prison of the education system, to be bombarded by all these lies of the education that we showed you very clearly in our videos, how deep these lies are and their spells. Now everybody knows, everyone, I don't know anyone that knows, that doesn't say, yeah, we know something's not right. Most people are feeling something isn't right. They don't know how to dot the I and cross the T as to what it is. So be very careful that you and everyone else are not susceptible under the pressure of all this chaos going on everywhere. And then you come across it as saying, look, there's a way out, guys. Here's a way out. We're going to get your way. Here's your freedom. Right? So be aware of that, because we're showing you here, this is a deception. And put aside all the harm going on right now everywhere, all the injustice going everywhere, the drilling into the earth and puncturing and bringing the oil out and poisoning the oceans, the killing, the mass murder, genocide to the sea creatures in the water and on the lands and in the forests, the chopping down of the forests everywhere, the cruelty of judges, what they're doing to animals through courts now, the microchipping of men and women now, and the lies they're bringing out to try to say that we all need to be microchipped so to protect us from a range of reasons why. The lies of Agenda 21 and people seeing how the agenda is now starting to appear on the surface, and how people have lost their constitutional rights and their common law freedoms and that. You know, look, there's 1,001 campaigns out there. There's 1,001 causes. There's so much of us, and collectively all of us are at the hammering of this thing. And yet the common denominator is us. We're all the ones setting all this into motion because we fell into the stories of what they are. And in doing that, we set them into motion, living to them. We just didn't get to see the little hands behind it that were manipulating to cause the chaos of those stories, to suck us in. So we're now all broken down to individuals, all off all over the place. And now we come across this, it feels right oneness. It feels good. Because this is the glue of having to bring us all together, where we all get on with each other somehow. So how does this apply? And the OPPT document tells you it's done through commerce, through money. Now it doesn't matter whether it's cashless or not, gold standard or not. It doesn't matter whether it's going to go back to some kind of common law or not. The fact is it's still the system of binding all the individuals together. Now, you can see more of this in our other videos, but I just want to give you a sense of this. Be aware of the psychological state of people who are going by the fervour. Yes, yes, OPT, OPT is out. We're all going, guys. We're all going. This is no different to Christians when you go to their churches and they go, Jesus is coming to save us. We're going back to heaven. We're saved to sit by the side of our Lord God and Saviour. Because it feels good, it feels right. But they can't bring forward Jesus or the God to back the claim that this exists. It's not in present sense, it's in non-sense. It's outside of present sense. Again, it's explained in these videos. So watch out for the common denominator. The other thing is, this document, the OPPT, is a conscription of men for an army to destroy the current system. But they have to subscribe to it. They have to say, yes, we're party to this war. We want to end the system as we know it. We're invading it to destroy it through the banks. The culprits out in the open brought up by the oligarchy are the Rothschilds. Blame the Rothschilds. Blame the Jews behind the banking system. Blame the banks. Let's blame race, culture and infrastructures of the system. Let me tell you all, it's a lie, guys. It ain't any of that. You got to peel back behind the nonsense, because money doesn't exist. There's no money. There ain't no money anywhere. It's just destroyed trees, destroyed mountains, turned into intellectual property, and we're running around saying it's money, but there ain't no money. It's just a belief. And eyes trapped in that lie, believing it. And remember what we've been saying in our work. Man, us, we are the only ones with the power to set thoughts into motion. Thoughts are images. Images of what been impregnated into our brains. Now I stress the point again. I really we've got to go back here before we go into these documents to get clear about what is this all about. What is the purpose behind this? Is that everywhere across earth, all the tribes of man before the system existed were then invaded by those who lived for that system. And they went in as missionaries, scientists, botanists, etc., to live amongst the tribes, to document their way of life, their customs, their tongue, which had nothing to do with alphabet talk. There's no alphabet languages amongst the true tribes of man everywhere across it. For a millennia, whatever you want to use lineal terms here. But once they documented the ways of life of all the tribes, and they got enough information about the landscape, because they went in and surveyed the mountain ranges and all that, and they can spend up to 200 years doing this. They did it here, amongst the tribes here of the land of Australia. They did it everywhere you go across it, all through Europe, the Americas, Asia Pacific region, or it doesn't matter, wherever you go, you'll see this common denominator. They went in, did this. Once they did enough surveying everything, and they recorded it in their alphabet language books, which is a Freemasonic satanic tool, explained in the other videos. They then sent in their warships and their armies to decimate all the tribes. What remained of those tribes? Many children were then brainwashed into another version of their recorded his story, because it's a storyteller telling the story about their ancestry. As children are vulnerable to this kind of psychological attack, who then grow up to have children who pass on the lie of that storyteller, who then pass on the lie again. So through the generations we have a complete delinking from our true heritage of who we are, because the storytellers become in between us, and they cast a spell of all these lies. And now the fruits of the trees of this agenda that these people live for, which is the Bible, because the Bible is the blueprint of this agenda, and we explain in the other videos why it is so. No one can debunk what we're saying about this. All these things, no one can come forward yet to say that what we're saying is a lie. They can't back it, because they can't bring forward nonsense to back the claim, because nonsense is a belief. It's a storyteller telling you something, but it ain't true. It's like what we said, just so you know this quickly again. So you'll see how this applies in this. Is if we say to you, that life form over there is a daffodil, and it's yellow, and it does this and that, and it's part of this and that. And we fill your head up with that. And you feel right about, oh, it feels good, it feels right. When you actually come across that life form, when you sense it, when you touch, taste, feel, smell, hear, see it, and you're in present sense to that life form, your head will be so filled with what we put in your head. It's like taking a potato sack and putting it over that life form that you now call a daffodil, because we told you it's called a daffodil, to shroud it in darkness. Now that hood is the priesthood, the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the childhood of the storytellers who told you how to think and feel about that life form. Meaning, you no longer can sense the information coming directly from that life form to you. Right? So can you comprehend the education system that we've all been subjected to tell us, oh, that up there is Mars, it's a planet. Earth's a planet. That over there is a planet, it's called Venus. And out there what you're seeing is a universe. And there's galaxies out there. And we have all these amazing experts with microscopes and telescopes giving us this big picture. Now we're showing you in the video, our videos, go and watch them. It's all fraud, guys. The whole thing is a scam, it's a lie. Behind the big walls of NASA and all that high security is the hiding of the lie. It's not keeping out the terrorists, guys. They're the terrorists. They're hiding the lie. And it's organized. This is brilliantly orchestrated lies here. The other thing about this is that by believing in that lie of Mars being a planet and all that, you can accept the concept of an alien world out there and you'll be able to get the idea there's other intelligent life forms out there. But if you had a direct experience, where all our children have that same experience, because if someone says to me, yeah, the reptilians exist, I'll say, well, can my children go and experience that in nature somewhere without you having to explain, put those images in their head? And no one else who's been exposed to that in the system put those images in their heads. Putting all these images in their head through the education system that we now call astronomy, and then through alternative means we now call it astrology and numerology and all the things that come out of all the occults and esoterics. Remember, these are coming from the treasure ships from the ships of all the invaders that came on the land after they decimated the tribes and they opened it up and took the books out of all the literature to brainwash the children, so they would no longer have the ability to have direct experience with every sensory life from all around them. So through the generations, the gradualism of the deception of the storytellers have now got us thinking about there's a universe out there, and that Earth is a planet and it's turning and going around the sun, which is also turning, part of a solar system, all turning and going around a galaxy of many galaxies, going around a universe of many universes, and that we're all tiny aspects of this universe, this story, at the effects of this story, at the effects of all this incredible power that they call the universe, on a journey heading from somewhere to somewhere. We're always on a journey heading from somewhere to somewhere. So always in present sense. And explain this as well. The sun shines only here and now. Man's only breathing here and now. All thoughts man thinks only occurs in here and now. Every motion occurs only in present sense. Everything happening only in present sense. So if a man is thinking, yeah, look, I know we're regressing here, digressing here, but it's important that you comprehend this. So if you're new to some of this, I'm just touching on some of these things because you've got to realize the hypnotic power of this spell that is hooking you in. So we're coming back to this as quick. See, the spell being spun that makes you think that you're a tiny aspect of the universe at the effect of greater forces than us. And also the storyteller giving you the impression that you're on a journey heading from here to the afterlife, where you're here, you're going to be beamed up by the Galactic Federation to be saved because of what's happening amongst us now. Or that whether you're on a journey heading through the mortgage, whether you're on a journey heading through surviving, the children going through school, and to heading on the journey through the system to survive to your retirement home and then die. But you'll find that nearly everyone is on a journey, even through their football team and the fortunes of their football team as it goes up and down, where they win, lose or draw. You'll see this everywhere you turn in the system. There's this spinning story. The point is, through the debate and discussions we've had with NASA astrophysicists and experts all over the place, they can't prove Earth's a planet. They can't prove Earth is turning going around the sun. They can't prove that there is a solar system. No one can bring forward the solar system to back the claim that the solar system exists. Right? It's the same as Alice in Wonderland. No one can bring forward Wonderland to say Wonderland exists. All that can happen is a child or a man being brainwashed into the images of Wonderland who come forward as a man in present sense. Because in present sense, only a man. All we're hearing is coming from man. who they're representing, they can't bring forward. Like you get someone knocking on our door and say they've got the living word of God here, and it's John and Mary, and they're saying to us, well, this is God's living word. And I said, well, bring forth this God in present sense. Where is this God to back the claim that this is the living word? Where is it? They can't bring it forward. They go, hello God, where are you? You see, their God is invisible. So they're committing fraud because they're acting as an authorized, because they're in the story, as representing the story that they're being told about the Bible. So they're lost in the story, and that's all they got, and that's fraud. It's blatant fraud. So the same as this, have you, with your own eyes, have you seen the solar system the way it's described and drawn in pictures and books? Have you seen it? You'll be surprised. Have you seen the Galactic Federation with your own eyes? Have you had direct experience? Now, when we talk about present sense, because it's only in present sense, the truth is, like we're all breathing the same air in present sense. Always in present sense. We can't jump somewhere else outside of present sense to grab a breath of air. It's impossible. Because we're always in present sense. So when you get a document like this come along and said this is universe, bring forward the universe. Where is this universe? Where's all the characters in the story made up of Wonderland? That is the OPPT document. Bring forward the characters so that we all of man, can have a direct first-party experience. And it cannot be another man dressed in costume and tell us that story, because that's just a storyteller. You've got to get past it. We need the proof, the evidence. So, if you can comprehend that, and see the general pictures of what I'm describing about the solar system galaxies, you have millions of people now been brainwashed over the last 20, 30 years to think that we're all at this effect of something strange, incredibly universal consciousness, what David Icke goes on about. And you'll find that Jordan Maxwell goes on about. You're going to find that, that Oprah Winfrey and, Deepak Chopra. Look, there's 1,001 of us out there and more who've done this and doing this. We were all caught up in this as well on the way till we woke up and realised the lie of this stuff. Because remember what we said, in the middle of the word belief, which is a story, is the word lie. The story is a lie because it's a fraud. People can't back it. You can't bring forward the party that you're claiming exists. And then I, in the middle, because I is the man, it's us, fall into the story of that lie, and we're now performing it, we're acting it. This is what's happened to everybody who's getting sucked into this, and they're going towards, yes, we've got to sign it, we've got to sign it, we've got to sign it. The other thing to be aware of, most people are discriminated because most people don't have the ability, and they shouldn't have, to comprehend legalese, comprehend the language, because it goes right over your head. It's so complicated. And unless you spend years and years comprehending this stuff and learning it, you go, oh my God, I've got to go to someone who'll represent me because I don't know how to stand in their court. I don't know how to understand this document. So you then go to an attorney or a lawyer whose loyalty is to the bar, as Fiona pointed out.
And whose job is to represent you, which means present you in another way.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not staying there for you as you are.
Exactly. Is that the difference of going to see a priest at church who represents their God, their Jesus, because behind the oligarch of the power is the power of you, have them over you here and now. Now, here's the racket. You have authorized representatives whose story tells you the story of the Bible, telling you there's this afterlife with a God sitting up there on a throne with the favorite son, Jesus, or whatever you want to call it, the Son of God, your Savior. Now, isn't it interesting? If you get sucked into the stories of all those concepts where you see a God sitting on a throne, all-powerful, almighty God, a He, because it's a man, because all through the history you always see it's men who are priests, so it's always a He is the man, and you see this man overseeing all the creation that this He created, and in that story he has this organization he calls archangels, the cherubs, who look over His kingdom. Right? And because the story is so ingrained in your head as a Christian, you say, my God, if I can comprehend that image, I can also accept the concept of a hierarchy ruling me here and now on earth. As above, so below. Right? So now we have the hierarchy of authorized representatives acting as priests, archbishops, popes, etc., who are the authorized, the power of that God here on earth. But what is this power? But the system, because they oversee the system. Now, on the lands we call Australia, this power invaded all these lands after they decimated the tribes, and they divided up all the lands into parish lands and put a church in every parish. It's telling you who's in power here, guys. And you'll see this occurring everywhere else. Watch the video, The Name is the Mark of the Beast, the straw man that identifies your slave status in the system, because it talks about the curse of that lie and how that curse has been processed in the current of money, because that's what it's all going at. The whole thing is a lie. Now we've got the OPPT. We've got this incredible cosmic galactic universe story going on in the background, spinning in your head, right? And instead of us as Christians now going to see the priest because we're sinners and we want to there confess or be baptized because we've got to have our children saved and we've got to have faith. The whole basis of the religion of Christianity is all based on faith and belief. And it needs I in it to believe in that story. But there's nowhere, and stress the point here, there is nowhere where our children who are not exposed to that story or any story of the system, no matter what, we're talking about children who've been brought up by nature, where can our children go to? Let's get 5,000 of them, 50,000 of them, get 1 million of them, not exposed to anything of an influence of this invading force of education. Where can they go to anywhere in nature, anywhere, and learn about this information, this story, without anyone else have to explain it to them? Because that's going to tell you clearly how big this deception is. All this information coming to you from cosmic galactic stuff has come through the medias and through the brainwashing into your head right now, just as we're reaching you now through this video camera, this dead thing. So it's important to realize you have been deceived here, because the lie that is the system that was ruled by the power of the priests is now collapsing, it's falling apart, and it's planned. We've been warning people for years about this was coming, because they've got to dismantle that, because they're now got to create a new system so that the power of the oligarchy behind the shadows can continue having their power. Only now, behind this, is like the Federation behind Star Trek, right? In a cashless universe, right? The power. Who is this power that is the Federation behind Star Trek? Who has all the power? And everybody has this. This is what they're planning to do, guys. We've been warning you all this for years. This is what's coming. They're going to wipe out all debts. They're going to wipe out everything. All wars will stop. All the chaos will stop everywhere. Suddenly everything will stop, right? And you'll know why, because they're the ones with the finger on the pulse in all sectors. And when they give the order out to all the networks of all their soldiers and lackeys, it all stops. Police will stop bashing up pregnant women, because the order will go out through the networks. Don't do it, or you'll be disbarred, you'll be removed, or whatever. Don't do this fracking. Fracking will stop. The reason all these things are occurring is not because of the greed and selfishness of just the private companies. It's the people behind orchestrating the whole thing, of all the images of the storytelling that gets people sucked into the stories that become the directors of the companies coming out of Korea that do the fracking. They just can't see the bigger picture. You peel back behind the corporations, all these dead corpse things. They're all mostly just people lost in the system, making a buck and seeking to have the fulfillment of their families and children, and they're answerable to their board of directors and their stockholders, shareholders, etc. All this stuff goes on. But there is key people in every area who have the ability at the top of the pyramid to put a stop. And guess what? The royal families, all those people, the oligarchy that's going back right through to Egypt, where all this rubbish came out of, they're going to switch this new system into a federation. They may not call it the federation. You look at the United Nations, look at NATO, look at the Asia-Pacific region of Australia, look at the other breaking down groups, and you see, like, look at America with NAFTA, with now bringing the new information highway for transporting between Canada, America and Mexico. And they're going to bring in the new currency, because the US dollar is going to crash because it's worthless. It's been worthless for years. This video is not about all discussing all that stuff. But what we're getting at is that we are all these little tiny little people at the effect of this chaos everywhere, and we feel powerless. Every day we're getting people putting up causes on our Facebook walls. Please cause. This dog has been discriminated against. It's unfair what's happened to that. Please help those people over there. Please help those people over here. Please help to save that animal here. Please help. We've got to protect the survival of that dolphin up there. Please help protect this and that and this and that and this and that. And it goes into thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands everywhere. Everyone's all caught up. And while all this is going on, there's a whirling going round and round. And this comes along in the middle of it. Come and sign this. Come and sign this, guys. We'll get you out of this mess. And we're just telling you, watch it. You're being tricked, guys.
Because the other thing about this as well, the important thing is, you might almost say, well, why are they bothering with this document? Why, if they want to collapse the old system, which they do, and they want to bring in their new version, then why don't they just do it? Because, as Arthur said, we're the ones who set things in motion. They need our consent. They need our agreement. They need us to say, yes, please, where do I sign? Because then they have the force of all our energy saying, yes, 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 we'll do it. And they can use that energy to make it happen. Because without that, it won't happen. We actually have the choice to choose something completely other than the system. It's just most people haven't even thought past the system because it's all they've ever known.
Can I just say something for a second? If all of us stopped buying the products of Kellogg's, the whole company would disappear overnight, right? If everyone stopped believing in the Bible would die overnight. It needs our consent, guys. It needs our ability to give life, our power, because we are the only ones with the power to set images into motion. We are the true power. The buck stops with us. How we are thinking is the world that we're living in. Life is in our image. You get enough of us all thinking the same images, will create that outcome. So what's the common denominator? When you get a group of us all thinking the same images, because there's nothing unique about it. This is all oneness, which means sameness. It's got nothing to do with uniqueness, which is all about, you watch our videos. We put another video up only recently called Water is the Life. So water is the life of man's consciousness, breath. It's a 3.5 hour so video. It explains a lot of this as well. And there's an interview with Ben Lowry. We suggest you watch that. Now we get a lot of complaints on Facebook about saying, "Oh my God, look at Arthur. Arthur's out there. He wants it." It's nothing about that. Get past the personality cults, guys. Get past looking at us. We're just a vehicle of the information. You can come shoot them out as much as you want. It doesn't bother us. There are people out there, you, the listener, the viewer. Listen to the messages. Don't get caught up in looking at us. Ignore us. Just listen to the message. Put it to the test. Scrutinize the information. Use your logic. Use your brain. Work it out. Because we're going to show you when I came across the OPPT document, in less than 30 seconds, I broke it all down. I knew exactly what was going on. 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds. Right? Here we have people like Max Eichen says, I've been looking at this. I can't find anything wrong with it. Nothing anywhere. I even took it to a judge. Got a judge to have a look at it. He says he can't say nothing wrong with it. It's all bulletproof. So Max is saying, this is it, guys. This is it. Right? How many of you out there pushing the OPPT thing, saying it feels good, it feels right? Why are they saying to you, it's telling you it's feel good, feels right? What's the difference when you're a tribe being invaded? You're living on the lands and you got invaded by a force and decimated, and seeing all your parents and family been hanging up on crosses with impaled swords through, and they put crosses all the way down the pathways where all the tribes walk so they can see the destruction of all their families all around and being decimated everywhere, right? Or look at the recent times of Pol Pot, when they bloody had dead bodies all up and down the roads everywhere. So all the people in Cambodia, wherever they had to go and get their food and waters and that, all they had to go past all the dead bodies on the roads. This is no different to what you're seeing right now with the devastation of Earth everywhere right now, right? Because what's going on behind us is this power. We want this power. Now why is it people like Max Eichen can't see legalese for what it is in seconds here? We can see this in seconds what's going on here.
And we're not law experts.
We're not law experts at all. We just use scrutiny, guys. Use scrutiny and check the reality. We check the reality of their dead world. The reality is Black's Law Dictionary, right? Law books. Learn to know the meanings. Use your brain, dot the I's, cross the T's. If you're sitting there going, it feels right, it feels good, you're the guy walking through that road there in Cambodia, all the dead bodies and devastation and destruction. Please, take me to the leader. I'll go with you. I'll follow you because I have no power. I have no power. I'm discriminated against. I don't comprehend what's going on. I don't comprehend legalese. I'm also discriminated against. I'm not very good with mathematics, so I can't compete in commerce because most people don't like to take advantage of other people and use them and rip them off and harm people, because most people don't like business for that reason, because they can sense the cruelty of the dog-eat-dog and on it goes of capitalism, etc. In the same way, you're all being discriminated because very few of you have the ability, and there's nothing wrong about that. You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to, because it's a lie to have the system forced on you that you have to know law, and you're forced to have to ask a representative of law to act for you, which is what we're going to show you of this OPPT thing. You're passing the buck to them who represent the system, right? And they are just lackeys themselves, because as you rise up the compartment of this whole thing, and those who don't know about this, the compartmentalization of the system is like levels and levels and levels. The bank teller doesn't know what's going above him, the bank manager, he doesn't know what's going above him, the area manager. So you have to be invited up, information provided on a need-to-know basis. So what you don't know is being used against you, right? That's the whole basis. So when you get right up through the compartments to the tiny few at the top, of a private corporation, because that's how corporations work. You get the power of the few who can control the whole pyramid. What that man makes the decision on impacts the clerk. If that man says, right, I want that clerk to turn right, that clerk will turn right, or he's lost his job. It's like that. It's thick as that. Everywhere of the system, the education system, the medias, the big corporations that control all facets of all enterprises in our lives, is all this. And merge them all together into a Russian doll, you have the tiny few of the oligarchy have all the power. And they are priests. And we're not talking Roman Catholic priests, high priests like popes. We're talking about the Freemasonic satanic world, who are the masters of putting images in your head and getting you to set those images into motion, which is what Satanism is all about. It's the power of putting images in your head, getting you to fall into those images, so you have to believe in those images and set them into motion. Hence, in the middle of the word belief is the word lie, and in the middle of lie is I. This is the same tactic being used all across through all recorded ages. So you've been discriminated against. A vast majority of you have been discriminated against under all the circumstances I've already presented in this video to you. You don't know legalese. You don't comprehend it. Most you have to go to someone who does. Or you're going, oh please, people come to us, Arthur, please can you help us get out of this jam? We're stuck. And I said, why didn't you comprehend what you're doing before you started doing it? How irresponsible are you? Why would you go to sign something and you don't even comprehend what the hell you're signing here? How stupid is that? Because that's what we're doing. Why would you go to confess to a priest and tell you everything about your secrets, knowing that the priest will pass the information back through the networks about you and your families and what you're all doing, so they know how to deal with it? You're going to think, oh, they're good guys, they care for me. They don't. There are, and I must stress the point, there are good people everywhere. Most of us are good people with good intentions. We're compromised. We're just compromised. We can't see it because we haven't had a chance to step right back and sit up at the highest point to look over the landscape without nothing blocking the view, so we can see everything going on, which is what we've done in our work. We step right back because we realise we have to step back to find the remedy to this problem, which is the Steps of Kindom, and we ask you to read it. Anyway, so
To self.
what we're going to talk about self here, but please keep all those things I've said in mind, because that's really what's going on right now while you're hearing us explain this, while you're thinking about this document, while everything else is going on. All these things are whirling around your head. And I guess there is one I think we should point out here, and is that when they taught you A, you have to learn A. And you have to A, because see, there's nowhere in nature, in present sense, we can go and visit A. There's no life form that embodies this information that makes up A. The only place you can do it is to remember it in your head. It's like an echo. It's an image now. The only place is you've got to remember it. You've got to remember, I have to remember A. I have to learn it. So every day I go to school, I have to keep learning A. I've got to remember it. I've got to remember. They'll write it down for me. I'll draw A. But A doesn't exist. There's nowhere we can go and visit A. All A is a destroyed tree made into paper with scribbles of destroyed nature to turn into pens and toxic ink and people who are brainwashed into learning A because they're under the spell. Because you've been hypnotized. A, B, C. And as you grow, you start learning more and more storytelling, because A is a story. It's a storyteller giving you a story. And as you can build up and build it up and build up into everything that becomes the sentences and paragraphs and then the chapters and the acts of a book, that become the whole manifest of a whole story, of stories and stories, which we call libraries, that makes up the courses and the careers of everybody's life in the universe I-T, universe I-T-Y. You'll see how this all ties in. To comprehend the big picture, you'll notice with me that I have to go back up to the higher point and stand over and look over the big picture. So I've got to give you a big picture, you the listener and the viewer, to comprehend this, because you've got to see the big picture. And we don't ask you to believe anything we're saying. We ask you to scrutinize everything you're saying, think it out, and see how it applies in present sense, and see if you can dot the I's and cross the T's here. The English language is made up of letters, and every letter has a meaning, but they didn't teach you the meaning of the letters at school. That was only provided to those who initiated into the high levels of the Masonic world, because they're all codes. In the old days, they had autobiographies made mainly by archbishops and bishops back in the 1700s and 1800s. And at the back of those books, they often put in the bibliography section, the meaning of the codes of the letters, bits and pieces. In very old dictionaries and very old thesaurus books, they did the same thing. Now, it's really important to realize that every sound that comes out of our mouth, and go back to the videos that we've already mentioned to check more on this, But when we make a sound, we're breathing water out, and the sound is in the water of our breath. So when we're taught to bring together letters to form words that we then form into sentences, we're creating images, because every letter is an image. And this is phonetics and etymology and cryptography at play here. The English language are made up of letters that are hieroglyphics. It's hieroglyphics. It's the same as the Egyptian hieroglyphics. There's no difference. Now, in the 1200s, they called English the New World Language. That's what they called it. They already planned it in their books from the 1200s, the New World Language. Right? So, if you don't know the meaning of the individual letters, then people who initiate into it can be talking to as politicians, and we've seen this, and we've seen it in the courtrooms. We've actually experienced this. We didn't yet, the penny wasn't dropping for us in the early days as to what was going around. And we knew something was wrong. We were trying to work out how they did it. And it wasn't just some wonderful people came to our lives and gave us all these kind of clues, all these things, and we were able to picture the bigger picture of this thing and provide our sort of unique way of explaining it. But we've all been got at by the education system, which is the treasure chest coming off the ships of the invaders, which then brainwashed the children through the generations. And we are now the descendants of these brainwashed generations in these education that we call school, who have not been taught the meaning of the letters, yet alone the legalese, which is all part of this deception. So while these politicians are talking to you in English, they're actually talking through code in their ability to pass information between each other, which is what we call double talk or double speak or triple speak, which is the Orwellian kind of thing. This stuff goes on, guys. This is factual stuff. If any of you want to go and do your homework, go and uncover old books and hunt and learn the codes of the English language. There is a group of people in Australia who want to bring a book out, and we've been waiting for years for them to bring them out. We've been revealed, lot's been revealed to us, but we promised them not to say anything except to apply it in our own work and do it in our own unique way, and that's what we've been doing. But we still have a promise to these guys not to bring it all out, and until we get permission to do it, or they prepare, or something else changes, we found another way to do it anyway, and it's just as powerful. So we're still doing, you're not being let down, because we're showing you through learning the difference between sense and nonsense how you can destroy the lies that make up documents like this, because it's all storytelling. Every letter of the English language, of the New World Language, is an incantation. It's a spell. And as you've been taught to bring together each letter, you're starting to forge a greater spell of these incantations. You're creating more. This is true black magic now. And as you're forming the sounds, you're forming images, because that's what's going on here. Everything is an image. The letter A is an image. Like if I say to you hi, it's going hi, right? But that's a sound. If I say A, you know this, the letter A. See, it's an image. I'm projecting an image. And this is the true power of the black magic satanic world, how they do this. This is true Satanism, guys. Because Satanism is all about putting images in your head and getting you to believe in it so that I will fall into the lie and set that into motion. So while we're talking English, we're living the lie, because the English language is a lie. You can't bring forward A, B, C to tell us, yeah, I do exist, and the information that represents I is true. But I can tell our children go and see a horse, and they can learn about the horse without me having to explain them about the horse. They can get a direct experience, but they can't with A. They need someone brainwashed into A to represent A to them. And here is the problem. We've got third parties as storytellers getting in between you and I. If those people behind the scene know the truth about the effect of the stories, of the bigger picture, because, you know, we're talking about documents made up of all these letters. And the whole thing is a story within a story within a story within a story that makes up a whole storytelling. And the only one who knows what's going on are the ones who initiate into the whole story and can zoom in and see everything going on. Right? Now this is how it's been tricked. So if you go all around Sydney or any major city, you'll see the evidence of Egypt in the architecture, but you weren't taught about what those images represented. You won't know the language being communicated to them, those initiated into it, which is going right over your head and over most people's heads. This is why you go to see an attorney, because it's gone right over your head. You can't see it. You don't comprehend it. You haven't had a chance to really learn it. So keep these things in the back of your brain. So not only is it a New World Language, but the other factor you've got to remember here, in their recorded books, and I'm going to explain this to you as well, because it's all tied into this massive deception here. Up to roughly 1780 AD, 99.99% of the total population of man all across Earth could not read and write any alphabet language and never did. Even up to 1930 AD, still more than 90% of the population of man were illiterate to alphabet languages. More than 90%, right? It means that today's supposed 6.7 billion to 7 billion population of man, and we don't know what it is, they're just telling us that. We're not a first party to know what the population is, but well, let's just say it's 7 billion. Today's supposed 7 billion population of man, all the ancestors going back through all recorded history, his story, had nothing to do with it, because they couldn't read and write in alphabet languages, because it's gone right over their heads. You see, in the older days, with the serfs and commoners, when the oligarchies that were in power, the owners of the castles and the high priesthoods and all that, they were the only ones that could talk Latin, talk Greek, Hebrew, etc., or old English, right? And when they went to war, the initiated generals, the landholders and barons and that, they could talk to each other in Greek because they were taught these languages. But all their serfs and commoners that were dragged to war, conscripted to war, or forced to go to war, who were working with them, couldn't comprehend what was being said amongst the elite. They had their village talk, their tribal talk, you see. Now, see, the only ones who could read and write any alphabet language were the owners of the castles, the high priesthoods, the aristocrats, all their royal families, all their scribes and lackeys. Right? They represented roughly 20 per 1 million of the population of man. This is the way it's been. So it wouldn't matter what you dive into, no matter what record of any alphabet language, it was them. It wasn't your ancestors, unless they got caught up in it. And this is a fact. So the only thing that's now happened is that they created the English language, the New World language, to become the language for all the serfs and commoners. And during the late 1700s, they started forcing the commoners to learn English, right? It became compulsory. You had to learn English. But it took a while to get everyone into motion. So this is why even it's only during the 1900s and up to the end of the 1900s that the vast population of man everywhere could start to really learn English. It still hasn't gotten every man yet, but this is where it's all heading, because it's part of the New World language. And you'll notice that it's only since English has been forced all through Europe, and people now in Europe are all learning English as their second language. Or their first language, and their original tongues now become their second language. And here, all across we're all the descendants of tribes that were invaded and dragged over here and sucked into being told this is the new promised land, and we've come in to build the system infrastructure, because the tribes of man on here were downtrodden, destroyed, and they had no power, no say anymore. And we've done all the dirty work to set up all the networks, etc. And here we are now. Once all the dirty work's done, then the middle class has been destroyed. You'll notice as all the middle class, we've all been wiped out. We're also noticing all those who have great influence over public thinking, those with a good heart, who've got a conscience, who speak up and have courage. Since 1960, they're all gone. There's hardly any of us anywhere anymore. Anywhere. They all died. Unfortunate accidents, been poisoned, died of cancer, all this stuff. We're saying most of them were killed off, blatantly. Right? There'll probably be some genuine accidents, but it's really interesting. There's literally none of us anywhere, well known, with influence over public thinking around, to stand up against this nonsense when they hear the truth about stuff like this. So it's left all the good people waking up now, like us, and we consider ourselves to be good-hearted, to help break through the barriers of the control these people have over all the systems of all the media. So when you're going back to this language thing, the thing is that if you don't know what you're dealing with here, and you've been brainwashed into this for 15, 20 years of your life, and all around you is talking English, and everything is based, the commerce, the system is based in the English language, right? And the United Nations documents are in English, and everything is heading towards this new world language. You've got to start using this, guys. Start thinking, what is really going on here? Who's behind this? Because why didn't they push this 400 years ago? Why are they doing it now, right now, under these ripe environments where the internet's now everywhere and all the pounding of the harm everywhere? Well, they actually did. They did. But they used it for another purpose. They called it common law. They called it the Magna Carta. They called it the Bill of Rights. But they were the system under another guise. It was just a more subtle version. Now, the way to describe that is that we run a company and we want people to become addicted to our food. So we put a tiny little bit of poison in it that's highly addictive, and we package it beautifully, and we wrap it up and make it taste good, and we give it out to all the people that we're influencing, and they eat it. And they go, oh, that's nice. And we are starting to get more and more business, and we go, oh, we don't want to lose this business, we want more business. So we'll put a little bit more poison in there. We're going to gradually increase it, but we'll create more products for them to buy, because we want them to come to us all the time. We want them only to come to us, serve us, buy our product. So we're going to introduce a few more lies, put a bit more poison. We'll come up with many other new methods of lies to trick you into making it taste good and packaging and sound good to get you to come in, right? And what that looks at, well, the way it looks is this, is that that's what you call the gradualism of man's fall through common law, the gold standard in the economy, through democracy and constitution. And as we gradually fell, and the lie got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the oligarchy, the power behind it, is because their plan is to take over the whole of Earth. They want the whole of Earth to be in one image, one sameness image, right? One world government, one world religion, one world language, one world everything, right? It's all new world. That's what this is all about. The other thing that I guess we should really touch on here too, they taught us to spell A, to put us under the spell of A, because we had to believe in A, because A is not a sensory life form in present sense which we can go and visit and learn from A about the information of A. It's made up by another man, and we had to take on the image of this other man, so we would fall under the standing, under the spell of that man, so that we can communicate A with that man, right? But this man then added more and more spells, so we had to learn B and C and everything that makes up the dictionary, till eventually we've fallen completely into the storytelling of the world of Wonderland, because Wonderland is made up of every facet of it, so you know how the thing works within what you've been told, because they don't want you to see the whole picture. That's like when you go to court. Judges know the playing field. They're trained when you're dealing with mortgage cases, for an example. They don't just bring any judge in there who doesn't know the bigger pictures. There are judges out there who don't know the big picture. But the specialists who are going to come up against people like us in the courtroom, they've got to bring someone who knows the playing field, because they've got to keep us inside the playing field, because if we get outside the playing field, we destroy the game. So they've got to keep you in the game. So the system's all about those few who do know to keep you in the game. That's why we're getting all these people coming out telling you now it feels right. We want you to stay inside the game. We know you don't comprehend legalese. We know you don't comprehend all these other things. We know that you're under the spell of the Galactic Federation and oneness and sameness, and we know that you're all want to bring peace to the world. We all know you. We know you all want to stop war. We're going to do all this for you guys. We need you first to comply. We need you to sign documents like this, because we can't do it without you complying. We need your approval. So they're going to tell you it feels right. It feels good. It feels, correct. See, so stories, all storytelling are spells. And this is why we ask you to learn the difference between nonsense, which are spells based on belief, that is a lie with you trapped in it as I, and sense, where there is no spell, where you don't need another man to explain to you anything about it. Like I say, we don't have to tell our children anything about the tree. Our children can go to the tree and observe it and learn everything about the tree without us having to fill their heads up with our explanation of it. We can ask them a question about it, but you don't fill up your head about it to force them under our image, so they believe what I'm saying, which goes back to this priesthood, brotherhoods, where you're hooded by intellectual property. Go back, watch our videos, those primary videos. It'll fill you in much more about this deception, because you've got to comprehend this. If you do not comprehend it, then you are the rooster with the head chopped off, meaning you've been disconnected from sense, and you're now lost under the spells of nonsense, and you're running. We've got to find the power. The power's in the law. The power's in the law. We've got to find the remedy in the law. The law's going to get us out of this mess. We've got to learn to know statutes, because the statute's going to get us out of this mess. We're going to dive into the Constitution. We're going to dive into the democracy. We're going to dive into common law. We're going to dive into the old days of our kings and queens, and it doesn't matter what the story is. Well, guys, it's all rubbish. It's all nonsense. It's just men and women dressed in costumes and titles. giving you the impression they have some kind of authority, but they can't bring forward the authority to back their claim. All they can bring forward is another man. But all men are equal. No man is master of another man. That's why we ask, who is your master? Anyone who brings forward anything that's nonsense, that is a spell, ask him, who is your master? Because the question is, are all men equal? Or are you living the lie, where you're claiming that some men acting under costume and title, have a higher standing than another man? Hence, you go into the attorney. You have a higher standing than me. Please help me get out of this mess. I'll sign this because I want freedom. I don't like all the chaos around me. I've had enough. This is what I want you guys to see. All of you who are new to this work, wake up. We'll show you what's going on here in this document now. So, the first thing that we noticed straight away was the word man. Whether it's in capitals, capital M-A-N, whether it's in, it doesn't matter how you break it up. The man is not used anywhere in the document. Now, man in present sense is man. Why is that critical? Because we, man, are the only ones with the power. The power. We have the gift of life to set life into motion. We give life to images. We give life to thoughts. Everything we're doing, we are the power. Without man, nothing happens. Nothing. In fact, if man does not exist, this dream doesn't exist. Without man to sense the dream of life, of anything of nature, there's no one to sense it anymore. There's nothing. People say, oh, but the tree still exists. But a man said that. Imagine no man hearing that. None. You see, the dream won't exist. That shows you how powerful we are. And the responsibility is with us. That's why we are the ones who invaded and conquered. This is why they decimate the tribe, because they've got to fill our heads up with these images. They've got to spin it. So we create the outcomes. So who do you think's attacking you right now? Another man in your head, making you believe this. We're doing the same thing, but we want you to withdraw from this madness. Return to the land, return to the gardens, return to nature. Watch the videos. We explain all this. So man is not mentioned. And I noticed this straight away. They use the word self. So I quickly looked up the Black's Law Dictionary. Straight away. It tells you straight away. And I looked up self-defense. It says here, in criminal law, the protection of one's person. Bingo. I didn't have to read anymore, but let's read the whole thing. The protection of one's person or property against some injury attempted by another. The right of such protection. The right of the person. Right? You've got to read it, because this is all legalese as well, guys. There's nothing going on even in this, in the Black's Law Dictionary. An excuse for the use of force in resisting an attack on the person, and especially for killing an assailant. Right? So it's telling you that the self is person. The self is person. Right?
We all know that person is our legal entity in the system.
Yeah,
it is not who we are. It's the straw man. So right away they're telling you that this document is not concerned with you, the real living man or woman. It's concerned with your legal entity, your fictional name in the system.
Now, the other thing is that if you were to break it down, the protection of one's person. Now, person is a story. Now, when your parents created your birth certificate, what they did, they created the name of the sound that came out of their mouths, because the sound that they breathed into the water of the dream of life is who you are. That is you, the living creator of that man. You are the creator of that man, because you're the one who walks that man, talks that man, thinks, feels, and they gave it a name. But they stupid like we have done, put that name into intellectual property, and we call it a birth certificate. Now that is what we call surety. It's the bond that is given to the powers that be who invaded the land, and the priests that is behind the system, because they are the ones with the power. So that person is not you. So if you, the way to explain this simply is if you go to a mirror, stand in front of the mirror. Let's imagine this is a mirror, and we're looking at the mirror. I'll try and do it this way so you can see it. And all I can see is a reflection of me in the mirror. Now you can't talk to that reflection and say, "Can you talk to the mirror for me, Fee?"
Hello, reflection. Hello.
Is it talking to you?
No.
But I can talk for it because I can hear you.
Yeah.
But who's talking? Is the mirror talking or am I talking?
You're talking.
Okay. see, nothing in the mirror goes on. Now, if you look at one of the codes of the Freemasonic satanic world, look at the big, massive obelisk outside the front of Washington, D.C., and you'll see this everywhere. This massive one pillar, right? It's casting a shadow across the water because it has a reflection of it on the water. Go and have a look for it. I'll put the link up for the ones we put up on the website, because that's your person. That's I in the middle of lie, of belief. Because that's what it is, guys. It's I. Little the dot. I. Their power is the all-seeing I. E-Y-E. Dot. I. Because you've fallen into the story of I. So when you look at this as a driver's license, and the police officer pulls you over and says, "Can I see your driver's license?" They want to see I, because they want you to represent I, because they can't see you, the living man, because all men are equal, right? Equal. No man is master of another man. So they've got to look at the shadow, the reflection. And that's the Wonderland, because Wonderland's the reflection in the mirror, because you've been brainwashed with all the storytellers who've projected that story in your head, so you would project it out into the cinema of life. Like I said before about the daffodil, or Mars and Venus, they told you all these things, but really that information did not come from what we're looking at. It came from another man who put it in your head, explaining to you what you're seeing. So you've been given a mirror to reflect, and that's the reflection of that big massive obelisk looking across the water. So when the police officer pulls you over, "I want to see your driver's license. Where's your ID?" He's asking you to represent, "Please bring out your mirror. I want to look at your eye." Right? Because immediately you're admitting that you are the representative of I. I'm the storyteller in the story of Wonderland. Okay? Because he can't look at you, the man. This is what the priest did, right? When they created the birth certificate, and they conned your parents and conned everyone else into this garbage. Because that I is their surety. It's their bond. And you're going to see this in here. You're going to see it in the first paragraph. Blatantly. Right out in the open. You open your eyes, you'll see this. How this works. Because you are tied to the story. You are the storyteller. But now, instead of you the storyteller as a newborn Christian, or the believer in Jesus, who's going through that reflection of that storytelling, because you've not had direct experience of Jesus. And don't get deceived, all the apparitions are coming through the water, which we explained in the other videos, water, the one about water. Go and check it out. It explains all this. So whether it's a driver's license, car registration, land titles deeds with mortgages, whether it's common law, democracy, this is the reflection in the mirror, guys. These are images put in your head. This is satanic-induced deception. And you have given them surety by giving your name to it, because that is not who you are. That bond is what keeps you in present sense trapped in Wonderland. That's the surety. That's why it's an insurance policy. It's a bond. They've got to keep you in present sense, so you keep under the spell, representing the belief of that story. That's why you now have all these people coming out going, yes, oneness. Yes, Galactic Federation. Yes, we're part of a universe. Yes, we're all whole. We're all going to come together as one. And we're going to bring it one. In the meantime, all those people behind the mirror, because the people with the willpower are behind the mirror, and they're pulling the strings, everybody trapped in the mirror. And they're pulling you all, and they're all laughing. They're all sitting on their comfy couches, all on their couches, spitting cognac in their fire, roaring with laughter, sucking you all in. And you can't see this. Because this OPPT is the same shit, same crap, guys. So learn that. That reflection is not you. It ain't you. It's a fraud. Right? You are not that driver's license. You can't talk to it. Hello, David. Talk to me, mate. Are you there, mate? When you go to court, C-A-U-G-H-T, if you don't know what's going on, you're going to get caught in the reflection. And that's where all their power is derived from. Their power is in the shadow world, the reflection of our making that we project. So we've got to stop creating fraud and stop falling for the fraud. That's why we tell people, we're not interested in your constitution. We're not interested in your democracy. We're not interested in your Bill of Rights. We're not interested in your Magna Carta. We're not interested in your founding fathers of America. We're not interested in your private corporations. We're not interested in your recorded history, because I don't know if you wrote it all. We're not interested in anything that comes from storytellers. You see, because it's all this rubbish. It's all representing intellectual property. They're just information made up to get you to fall into the reflection of another man. Because a man made up the mirror, made up the shadow, and conned you to fall into it. So you would become trapped in the wonderland. Alice through the looking glass. Alice in Wonderland. It's like I say, you brainwash a child to believe in Alice. You come home one day and you find your child, because your child dressed up as Alice acting in Wonderland, and turned the whole family home into all the settings and props of Wonderland. And you ask your child, where's Alice? Because your child's David. I'm Alice. But aren't you David? No, I'm Alice. Are you? Isn't your first name David? Yeah. Well, where's Alice? I'm Alice. Well, bring forward Alice. So you're saying to me you're Alice. Well, there's a conflict here. Well, this is the same as the driver's license. The police officer pulls you over. Can I see your ID? Can I see Alice, please? No, I'm David. No, I want to see Alice. No, I'm David. But in this case, he says, I want to see your driver's license. You're David Smith. Yeah, I'm David Smith. Really what's saying, so you are that reflection in the mirror. You can see the police officer is representing the story that he was told about statutes and the story of law of those statutes. Not the law as in common law, it's a different law. So he's trapped in the story, acting in costume title as a character. No difference when you come home and see your child who grabbed the dining tables and chairs and turned everything into the props and settings of Wonderland. Right? And they're all dressed up, performing the story of the storyteller. Who was the storyteller put into your head? But you, the parent, put it in their head. You taught them a lie. So I fell in the lie. So I is your son David performing the lie of that belief that is the story. Because all belief is a lie. That's why I say to you, a child does not have to believe in the tree for them to sense it. Right? Which is what we do when we storytell them, by telling our version of what that tree is all about. The whole system is the same fraud. This is satanic influence, guys. This is what you've got to wake up to. This is what you've got to see through it. And this is what we're unraveling here. I apologize if I'm going on and on about this, but it needs to be done. You've got to comprehend the big picture. Otherwise the spell, because you'll stop this video and go, I'm going back to something else that's a spell. You're going to keep grabbing for some other spell. When we're trying to tell you, look for the spell in everything that you're thinking. Look at the images in your head. Extract them out and let them go. Extract them out, let them go. All that nonsense, because you can't bring it forward. The police officer can't come forward and back the claim that that man has a higher standing than another man. All he can do is do harm to you. But if you're naive and stupid and you believe in the authority of that man under the costume and title, right? Because you're in Wonderland, you think, oh, that character has a high standing because that's what the game is. He will do harm to you because you accept it. Now, he may still do harm to you when you know that you're not that mirror. Now, someone like me, I don't carry these things around. I don't have anything. I don't have Medicare. I don't have bank accounts, credit cards. I've got nothing. I'm completely out. This man is totally, I don't use it. I don't rent it. You see, because I'm not this sure anymore. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the lie. I don't have to tell them I don't need to use it anymore. I just dropped it all from 2006 onwards. It was up until about 3 years ago when I stopped it all completely. I have nothing now. I don't use any of this stuff because I don't set that lie into motion. My family do. They're all trapped. And I'm compromised because they're all trapped. But at least some of us are starting to do this until there's millions of us doing it again. And we're no longer in the reflection of this lie. Because while we're in this reflection of this lie, we're doing harm to the real world that we are. We're destroying everything. We have to destroy everything to live the lie, to create the physical material forms, images, right? Like paper. That's destroyed forests. You know, you look at metal and plastic and cameras that we're using, all these dead things. It's destroyed nature. Our children can go to those life forms to learn everything about the real dream, but now we're destroying it all until eventually our children have got nothing to go to learn anything about their true heritage. We're wiping it all out because we're living the lie, and the shadow of this lie is now called cities and concretes and plastics and aeroplanes and cars. And the noise of all this nonsense and all these dead things everywhere are blocking us out. We can't remember who we are. But at least some of us are using this, using our senses to scrutinize, to work out the lie. Because you've got to see the lie, guys. And get back to the garden, get back to nature, to the food forest, reconnect with the real one. And don't believe the lies of all the recorded history that we came out of Dark Ages and all this garbage that were all squiggly things that came out of the water, and you know, we from the Neanderthal man and caveman and all this garbage, and we were all plagued by the plagues, the Dark Ages, and all the history of all this stuff. It's all rubbish. Were you there? Did anybody else was there? Bring forward the first party. All you can do is dive through their recorded spells of all the history, the storytellers, putting the storytelling. They only have to twist the lie enough. One lie hidden in a lot of truth can destroy all the truth. One tiny drop of black into pure white destroys pure white. One lie hidden in a truth can alter the whole story, the true story, and twist it. And it's like, and the worst thing of all, which is what's happened to all of us today, leading to the absolute chaos. The community of man, all the tribes, one harm to man is harm to all of us, because we're all bonded. So we're all broken down into the individuals. You know, like I said to you before, you go to an ant colony and you say, listen guys, I've got a new program for this called individuals. Each of you now can have your own politically correct truth. Now you can go and become scientist, engineer. You go to a universe and learn any career you want. You can become gothic, punk rocker. You can become Jew. You can become Christian. Whatever it is, we're going to make it politically correct. And you can have that right to believe that story that we provided you in this world that you're going to enter into now. And all the ants go, wow, that's incredibly exciting. So we all go into it. And off they go to become all the individuals, all these individuals living their thing. But what has happened to the ants in present sense? They've forgotten who they really are. They've forgotten what they're truly part of. So they're no longer really thinking about the care of their children and the elderly. And so the community has been broken down. But worst of all, the ant colony world has no longer been cared for. So the whole thing collapses and dies. And with it goes all the individuals. And that's what's happened to all of us. That's what the spell does to you when you fall for storytellers. The other metaphor we use a lot in our work is the one about the sun shining. The sun's radiating all its rays out to everybody. And it says, no, I want to keep them for me, for it's mine. I own it now, it's mine. I'm not going to share it. I want to glorify my own power. So all the rays of light that once went out now turn back on self. You'll see the word self. On I. And where once the sun was, with all its light and life, is now nothing but darkness. It's dead. And that's what happens to us. And that's what's happened to us everywhere. When we fall for the I in the lie of belief. When you fall for a story, and you can't have first party direct experience, and you have to brainwash someone else to be in that same image, you know you're living the lie, and you're spreading the lie, and it's spreading everywhere. It's nonsense. And that's what you've got to do. Bring forward the first party. Ask everybody, who is your master? Is it another man? If it is, then you know you're living the lie, and that's a lie. All men are equal. We're all supposed to have original thoughts, original dreams, all unique, not one the same as the next. Please watch those other videos, especially the water one. We go into this in great detail. So here we have millions and millions and millions of us getting content. We've got to go. We have massive peer pressure now on OPT. Come on, Fee, you've got to sign it. Come, what's that? You're not cool, man. Come on. We're going to ostracise you. Why? What's the matter? What's wrong with this? What's the matter? We've got people coming to our groups saying, Arthur, you're into the Vatican stuff, man. You're into the Vatican divide and rule stuff, man. You're under the spell. But the man who says that, Max Eigen, he actually hasn't been reading our work. He doesn't know what we're talking about. He has no idea what he's talking about here, because he won't read it. He admits it. I don't read your work. We reply to him, but he won't read it. And he's telling us that he knows what we're doing, but he doesn't even know what we're doing. He's got no idea where we're coming from. But I know you, the listener, knows where we're coming from now, because we're explaining it to you, and you've got the videos there to learn about this stuff. Watch out for the peer pressure. Why should another man drag another man under the image of something like this, where we all fall under the same one spell of the storyteller? That's what we call Christianity. That's what we call all religions. Did you know system science is a religion? The education is a religion. Religion. Right? It's a conscripted army of man under the spell of another man. We've placed ourselves under another man. The oligarchy, when they worship Satan, it's a man. It's not a fallen angel. There's no fallen angel in that way. It's all man-made nonsense. It's mythology to make you fall into the story so you can be conned by the reflection of that story, so you'll accept the characters in that Wonderland story of the mirror that's now called the police officer and the judge in the courtroom and the judge and the politicians in Parliament. And you see what they're doing, how all this connects. Because the whole thing's a scam, guys. That's what this is all about. What we're saying, they taught you to spell, to put you under the spell of that story, of that his story, because that's what history's about. His story, her story. When you go to court, it's his story and her story, and his story and her story, in a story of many stories of that his story. That's what it's all about. It's a spell. So when you fall into these spells, you're under the story. This is why imagine a man on the land, original man on the land, for the first time sees this British Empire ships from the 1600s or 1400s or the 1700s arriving, this big old wooden ships with big masts everywhere. They've never seen them before, imagine that. And they're scratching their head going, what is that? Because see, all the tribes only knew nature. Their tongue was from the song of life, from nature. They didn't have talk, because talk's a satanic thing. All alphabet languages come out of mathematics. All mathematics is all part of geometry. All three of them are abominations, because you can't bring forward them in present sense for our children to learn about it. They have to be indoctrinated. I'll give you an example of this. The ships arrive, and the tribes of man, all friendly, looking at this thing. My God, what is this? This is a UFO. It's a spaceship coming across the water. We've never seen this before. Right?
If they knew what a UFO was.
Yeah. Now we've got the same thing. Now we've got UFOs coming now. It's the same thing back then. And then they see this smaller craft come off, and they got the men with their big pointy hats and all that coming, all that dress and uniforms. And they're going, my God, we've never seen it. What is this, man? This is really out there, man. This is right out there. Until he arrives, they arrive on the land, and they don't know the tongue of the tribe, because they don't know how to talk that tongue, communicate that tongue. And imagine, I'll just use the Aussie language, because I'm not really good at pretending other Latin and Hebrew languages, because they would have spoken Greek or Latin or Hebrew back then, whatever alphabet talk was used. And he says, "Oh, g'day, I'm Admiral Bligh. I'm from I'm the representative of the Queen of England, Queen Victoria, or whatever, and we're part of the British Empire." And we have this thing called the Westminster system, and we've come to conduct a census amongst your people to see whether we can introduce Medicare for you, right? It doesn't matter what they say. All this is gobbledygook to the tribe, because every sound of A, B, C and everything coming out of it is not in nature. That sound is not to be found. Those images are not naturally found anywhere in nature. So it goes right over the heads. It's gone right over the heads. This is why most of this stuff goes right over most of your heads as well, because it's all gobbledygook. It ain't true. It's nonsense. They're experiencing nonsense. It's not natural. So if you can comprehend that, and then imagine that they had to seduce that tribe, or go to war with that tribe, to break their tribe down and get their children, to brainwash them into the gobbledygook language. So they then become the original man who's now the lawyers, running around as barristers and experts in law, because they have given up their true heritage to become cogs in the wheels of that system progress. Because that's all that's going on. When you're educated, because and we always say this over and over again, and we'll we will focus on this, but I just want to give you guys who are especially new to this, some idea of the big picture here. You cannot have a man-made system, no matter what. No matter what the sentiments, doesn't matter. You cannot have one without slaves and rulers, without causing loss of uniqueness to every man, woman and child who has to be educated, as the tribes were, to be educated into the nonsense of these spells that you have to represent. Because you have to represent A. A can't talk for itself. You have to become the A. You have to become the A in the mirror to talk for A. And everything else comes out of it. The whole language is an abomination, guys. You have to learn 1 and 2 and 3 and all the commas. All that's an abomination because you can't find anywhere in nature. You don't go and see 1 tree, 2 tree. You see the relationship of every tree to every tree. There's a purpose to everything and all the creatures. There's no one in that way. There's a purpose for everything. But you've got to connect with the uniqueness of each, whatever you're observing, to get the information from the uniqueness of that life form. And not superimpose it with the brainwashing you've been given. So you think, oh, that's 1 tree. That's 1 tree over there. And that's 2 tree over there. And I'm an engineer. I've come out of this universe story. I'm now an engineer. And all I can see is the highways and the cities I'm going to build through that forest I'm going to decimate because I don't see the purpose of everything there. I'm a drone. I'm lost. Right? So in the same way, we have engineers now, original men and women running around now as engineers and scientists and theologians calling themselves Christians. Why? Because you've got to remember, their ancestors were brutally tortured and decimated and the horror. So they said, yes, we're going to be Christians. You're the power. We don't want to die. We'll accept it. Some get conned into the mysticism of this stuff and they think, oh yeah, it is true. But you don't realize we're creating all this. We are creating it all. We're creating everything. That's why we have to be invaded and conquered, and our heads have to be filled up with these images. Because without us projecting those images, we won't go and buy Kellogg's. We won't go and put our energy into OPPT. If we're waking up, we don't go to any paper. We won't go following any man anymore. Because we're not supposed to follow another man, no matter what. We're all unique. And the true power is when all men are free from this madness. And that the real power of our getting together is nature. You see, with the ant colony, all individuals broken up, you need a system glue to glue them all together while they maintain the individual state. So we're now all broken down individuals and we've been given the glue of the system, right? But now that glue is breaking apart, it's wearing out, so they've got to come up with a new glue. So they had to come up with another story. So they had to hammer us for 20, 30 years with the quantum physics and nature and cosmic consciousness out there and everything is from the terms of system science. And astrology, and numerology, and all the esoterics and occults, right? So together, when you're reading something like this, it spins the spell of that story. Yes, it's one. It's whole. It's cool. So you'll accept the glue they're going to give you because you can't see the writing in this document. You can't see what they're trying to tell you. You can't read the letters. You're not seeing the hieroglyphics. You're not listening to the etymology and the phonetics, right? Of the sounds coming out of your mouth, those images you're creating, that has you go, yes, I'm going to sign, be the surety on this piece of paper, because it needs you to create the New World Order. Without you complying to it, it can't happen. Just as the present system can't happen, without you waking up and saying, I've got to go to work, I've got to give my life energy to be the lawyer, to be the solicitor, to be the barrister, to be everything of everyone who are now brainwashed in the cogs that make up the system. But you know what? Nothing is happening, guys. Nothing is happening. Nothing's going on. What really is going on, in every instant while we're living the spell, we're destroying sensory life. We're destroying the real one to act, perform as in the dead one. So we call them cars and plastic and steel and dead things with dead sounds. They're all nonsense. And we have to hijack all our children to fall into that mirror of that image of a man who made it up, who was man-made, made a man. They call Satan, or Lucifer, or Moloch, or Odin, or the Grand Architect. Or, it goes on. All the same nutcase, guys. It's just an image made up by a man. That's all it is. And this whole new spell is coming at you now, coming from all these people out there who have tried to build an internet profile. Watch out for this deception. A lot of them out there exposing the lies of Christianity, exposing the lies behind everything. They're coming up as the great freedom truthers. But they all are telling you, this feels good. It feels right. Go with it. You see, one lie, one liar in all that truth will kill you, will destroy you. One lie. Watch them, rout them out. Open your eyes, see who they are. Because that's what's going on here. Don't let them pull it off. Withdraw. Withdraw. Don't give your energy to this garbage or any other garbage that comes as a system. The truth does not need paper. The truth does not need ink. The truth does not need another man to represent it. You are that truth. You do not have to jump 10 foot across the room to grab your next breath. You already got it. You don't. Why are you arguing for your freedom when you've already got it? Why are you arguing for your peace when you already have it? Why are you arguing for everything and claiming it? Because the moment you do, you fall in the mirror. That's not you anymore. You're representing it. While you're representing while you're representing peace, you haven't got it. While you're representing the name that's on the piece of paper, you haven't got freedom because you've got a man who's saying, no, I'm seeing David in the statutes here. I'm going to arrest you because you've done something that's a crime. Even though you haven't done a crime, you haven't injured anybody, you've been doing 120 in a 60k zone. Right? We're going to force you. We're going to compel you to give your energy to the fire I'm going to give you. That's the lie, guys. And you're going to see this come at you 1,001 ways. Watch out. We will lead every revolution against us. There are heaps of them. All these good guys coming at you, coming from everywhere right now. And more to come. Rout them out. Because altogether, they all point the finger at the New World Order, the New World language, the One World Government. They're all going to say, they may not say to you up front, ask them who their master is. Ask them, do you want the system now or in time to come? Are you going to stand up for the system? Because the system is the prison. Because that's where they get their power. Without the system, there's no power. Without you feeding Kellogg's, there's no Kellogg's. Without you feeding the Bible, there's no priests. Without you feeding this, there's no federation behind Star Trek that's going to force the New World Order on you. Without this, you won't have alien invasion and all the other garbage that's going to be thrown at you. Wake up to the lie. It's all man-made. There's nothing out there. We're creating everything. Watch the videos. We're creating everything. When you see the nonsense for what it is.
Trapped within our world, watching dreams without blue skies floating by. Why are the grey clouds forming overhead? Forming overhead. I'm trying to breathe. I'm following a path mapped out from the start. Why do my dreams keep moving out of sight? Moving out of sight. Sunshine that I seek shines faintly through the smoke. Layers of fantasy, images that blind us to our lives, blind us to our lives. And I'm trying to see, I'm juggling with my things, I'm struggling with the cold. And I'm spinning in a vortex of burning words, of burning words. Ooh, and my head's on fire. Oh, where's the love inside my heart to wake me up from storyland, from my deep sleep? We'll save the forest, we'll save the mountains, we'll save the ocean when we save our lives. We'll save the children, we'll save We're living for the love that lights up in our hearts. We're living for the dream of a world of do no harm. We're living for our kin, our tribe of conscious men. We're living for the truth, no more waiting for saviors.